So I spent about 10 minutes this morning looking at all of the replay packs that have been released over the last couple of weeks. And it turns out this is literally the only Terran vs. Zerg that I haven't casted. There are no other TVZs. So I figured we need to go ahead and have a look, because this seems to be... It's weird. This is the most popular matchup in the game consistently over the years. People love watching Zerg go up against Terran, but apparently it's also by far the most rare matchup in all of the, well, replay packs over the last couple of weeks. So spawning right here in the bottom right-hand corner, in game number 1 on a map called El Dorado, playing with the blue Zerg drones, we have none other than Dark and his opponent in the bottom left in his best of 3 series with the red Terran pieces. He goes by the name of Cure. I love watching TVZ. There's just very few Terran vs. Zergs. I mean, the ones that did come out, I did already cast. And maybe I've skipped over 1 or 2, but I was having a look at all of the weeklies. And it seems like there's just not a lot of Terran vs. Zergs. They used to be like Dark going up against Björn at least a couple times a week, but Dark actually has been getting eliminated relatively early lately in some of the weekly cups. And none of the other Zergs, I guess Shin is playing in some of them, but it's a lot of Protoss. That's a bit of a theme right now. It's a lot of Zerg versus Protoss, and a lot of Protoss versus Protoss, and a lot of Protoss versus Terran too, but not so much Terran versus Zerg. The Zergs are slowly dying out, it seems, but it could just be that it's this time period in StarCraft 2, right? Now that the Lulu Cup has wrapped up and the Masters Coliseum has also concluded, those are the big events, the big online cups that, well, happened in January. It seems like some of the top-level Zergs are taking a bit of a break. Dark, though, opening up with a quick triangular base over here on El Dorado. He keeps doing this thing in his matchup where he opens up entirely gasless. So this is a big corner to cut. He opens up triple hatch with a reasonably quick spawning pool, but by no means the fastest possible one. So it's a quick triple hatch and then no gas. Like he skips gas until he gets roaches going, usually, which is very, very late. We've seen some of the Terran players abuse this now, where they know that Dark likes playing this strategy. It's a big corner to cut. I think it's probably because Dark believes that this is really the only way to be even, or maybe slightly ahead in the matchup. But obviously, if Terrans go for like a triple proxy hatch on the other side of the map, or triple proxy barracks, right? Like, for example, we saw Björn do this, and we've seen some of the other Terran players do this too. When they go for proxy barracks on the other side of the map, this build is GG. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. So this is the first game of the series. I'm sure Cure has taken note of the timing of that third hatch, and he now realizes that, indeed... Get back, Miranda. Yeah, you get back up that ramp. I'm sure he now knows that this is indeed going to be a gasless start for the Zerg. Not much he can do about it at this point in time. Dark has already survived the scary portion of the game, at the very least as far as the first few minutes go, but he's already been able to get away with it. But obviously, maybe in the next game or the third game of the series, we will see the Terran player trying to take matters into his own hands. So the real big difference that has caused this is just that the Queen is more expensive. Doesn't sound like a big deal, but it really has shifted the early game up quite a bit. Interestingly enough, though, in the games that I've seen, like, for example, Raynor play, or Serral, or Shin, they don't really go for the gasless build. Yeah, they generally do like playing roaches, but they don't really open up entirely gasless. So only just now, look at that. Nearly 4 minutes into the game is when we finally see 2 of these Vespene gas geysers taken. Reaper going around the site. Looks like it might be able to get a drone. Oh, hello. You could have had it. Instead, the Reaper itself died. Banshee coming up right now, too, for Cure. He's opening up with a good old triple command center 1-1-1. So Hellion Banshee will be his weapon of choice. Yeah, I still don't think we've seen the bottom of the Queen nerf yet. Like, the Queen nerf has been around now for a little while, but Zerg players are really still trying to adjust to the situation. That was a Reddit thread a couple days ago, calling the, I've seen many arguments about the Queen nerf over the last couple of months, but I haven't seen anybody else, other than that one Reddit user, call it misogyny. He had a really interesting Reddit thread that you guys just can't handle that the Queen is the most powerful unit in the game, yada, yada, yada. But at the very least, the mothership got buffed, so, you know, we have shoveled the strength around a little bit. Queen's desperately trying to run around, and now the roaches are coming. Good defense here, though, actually, by Dark. He's gonna need this Spore Crawler in the main base. A bunch of drones are dying. Queen's awkwardly running on back into the main base. Bit of missed target firing here by Cure, actually. Some relatively sloppy micro. It's because he's got his eyes set over here at the front. He's decided to also expand in the direction of the Zerg player. So this is one of those interesting developments in El Dorado, where this is a massive map. There's loads of bases on it. But generally, we will only see the bottom section of the map being used. Usually the next fight, yep, is gonna be for the base over here at the bottom. So Dark already running a drone on over in that direction. And he will try his very best to start mining those golden mineral fields nice and early. Ooh, using the siege up ability right there of the Overseer to get the maximum detection range. Cute little move. He probably wants to make use of this second Evo chamber as well. It is important. Dark actually double expanding. Hellion around the back, trying to see if he can get the golden minerals there. We'll probably see Cure taking an expansion over here in just a moment. Infestation Pit coming up, so we are just playing a macro match off of this. Yeah, Dark just taking a lot of risks early on. You can see that, as far as the supply count goes, it doesn't really, like, you would expect him to be ahead, right, after taking that many gambles. Not quite the case. Some excellent harassment here by Cure in the end. Really still getting value out of units that were already sort of written off. So 11 drones in total is not bad, but obviously it's relatively late. Banshee also does fall. Okay, so that's the early game entirely over now. Armory, extremely early. You can already start up some of those attacks as well for the siege tanks. Go for some of the attacking upgrades. Dark really wants to mine the golden base here at the bottom, but I find it a bit unnecessary, to be honest. This base is a cool idea, but I almost kind of feel like it's meant to just mostly taunt the opponent. As we do have a Nidus network coming up, as well as, of course, that base on the right side of the map too, so I feel like Dark is not really intending on mining this much, but maybe he's trying to get an overreaction out of the opponent. So far, though, Cure not really taking the bait. He's had a look a couple times, didn't see any drones. Decides to harass the golden base here from the back instead. Swarm Host again? Yo, we've seen Dark play Swarm Host before on this map as well. Who against who was that again? Swarm Host against Terran is garbage, man. I really don't like it. Like, last time I saw him play Swarm Host, it was on this map as well. We played Swarm Host Nidus. But against Terran, I'm thinking it was maybe against Clem. This was a few weeks ago. I just don't think it's a good idea. I want to believe, but the thing is, Marines just killed a Locust. Like, it's like a fight to the death, right? Like, they try to deal as much damage to each other as possible. But the Marines generally just have more damage output. They will be able to shut down the Nidus relatively easily, the Swarm House relatively easily. Nidus Worm set up right outside of the main. Roach is running towards the front as well, trying to see if they can get some damage in. Dark is now maxed out. But it's Roach Rabbit to Swarm Host. Well, here's a big Locust Wave. And this will be the first time that Cure sees it. Okay, getting the +2 here is actually really quite nice. Getting the second upgrade. Okay, the third upgrade? You know what? That was an exceptionally successful Swarm Host wave. In the meantime, we do have a fight at the front too, where some of the... Okay, Roaches actually do connect as well with the siege tanks. Yo, Swarm Host may be the best unit to go for. I don't know if you realized that that was where those upgrades were all located, but Dark just had the perfect fight there. Shutting down those upgrades and really taking the winds out of the sails of Cure. Another Locust Wave now available for base defense. Roaches are going to try and join in as well, and that means that the siege tanks are likely to deal a lot of friendly fire. Excellent fight right here by Dark. Cleans it up. That was the scariest moment in the game, and what do you do now here as Cure? You've just lost so much. You've lost your upgrades. You've lost your army. You've got decent economy, I suppose. But you need to get something done here over the course of the next couple minutes. That actually was way more effective than I thought it was going to be. If Dark knew where those upgrades were and he actually sniped it on purpose like that, that would have been amazing. We'd have to go back into replay to figure out whether or not that was the case. Either way, new NG bays have been produced. A new armory. You can only make it after you finish up an engineering base, so he needs to go and research +2 when the armory finishes. This has really, well, set back Cure by several minutes. And you know what? Cure's not really microing his units very much. We've seen the Banshee go down, we've seen the siege tanks not sieged up, we've seen quite a few sloppy mistakes. And it's costing him a lot. Dark trying to overwhelm this to the best of his abilities now. Swarmos once more coming in clutch over here. Looks like the SCVs did run away this time around. This is still awkward though for Dark, because he has got a lot of supply caught up in units that aren't very useful in straight up engagements. Those Swarmos are very heavy in supply. It's kind of like maxing out on Ghost, you know, except these Ghosts don't have an auto attack. Hatchery falls, and Cure is actually smelling blood. He's down in upgrades. He's down in army, but he might still have the right units for the job here. Great spready this time around on the siege tanks, mitigating a lot of the splash damage here. Corrosive Biles. Okay, he kind of walks into it himself a little awkwardly. One Corrosive Bile does connect with the siege tank in addition to the damage already done. Swarmos in the meantime at the front kill 5 additional SCVs, but nothing all too crazy. Dark in the meantime expanding all the way up north, realizing that he may need to evacuate his bases and mine somewhere else. He doesn't have a proper transition towards like Lingbane or anything like that going. He's got 75 drones, but not enough gas income to properly support all of this. So a little bit of a macro misstep right there from Dark. Locust Wave right now at the front. This is why I don't really like them very much, because the Marines can pop the majority of them out of the skies before they even land. But maybe in addition to the roaches right now, it can work out. Siege tank does fall eventually, and it looks like Dark does hold. Yeah, these Corrosive Biles are now going to get rid of the rest of the Terran player here. That got a little dicey for just a moment for Dark. But he breaks out of that soft contain of the Terran player. He's gonna try and see if he can counterattack. Cure was, for all intents and purposes there, almost all in. Council as well in the new command center. He does start up a new one immediately. Swarmos in the meantime, though, are also up north. So they'll be ready once more to send in a Locust Wave. Although Cure is finally going to try and see if he can play some Knight as Whack-A-Mole. This is not really the way to engage generally, but I guess that's one way to get rid of it. Okay, bunch of SCVs going down too. And now Dark does have those expansions taken on the other side of the map. So he can actually transfer some drones and get some decent mining. Lurker Den right now coming up. So we will see Roaches into Roach Ravager Lingbane, into Swarmhose Nidus, into Hydra, into Lurker. Right. It's a bit complex. There's a lot of steps, a lot of moments where things can go horribly wrong. This was not the fight to take. Good control right there from Cure. Runs the units around the site in a little circle, around the little crevice. Nidus Worm now at the front. Rest of a bio army as well. Trying to go to the other side of the map, and it is getting a bit of work done. Cure really just trying to buy time. Look at this, man. We're only like so he lost the 2-2 upgrades a second time over at the front. I missed it, but we're now nearly 14 minutes in, and he's only got the 2-2 upgrades like a third of the way done. Still, though, Cure is looking for the base here at the bottom of the map. Swarmos are getting some work done right now onto the siege tanks. Okay, another Locust Wave that's pretty successful. I'm surprised with how good these Locust Waves have been. I think we're long overdue, though, for a Lurker transition. But as soon as Dark gets like 5-6 Lurkers out, it'll be very difficult for the Terran to do anything about it. Ghost Academy now coming, though. And the Ghost Academy is going to be an extremely important part of the army here for Cure. At least as soon as the Lurkers are out. He doesn't know about it yet. Fight in the middle. Not terrible here for Terran. Keep in mind, though, he's down 2 upgrades, which really does hurt him. Normally, at this point, you'd be even in upgrades, so those Marines just don't hit as hard as they normally would. Knocks down the rocks to keep his own mineral line at the bottom a little bit safer. Mules are landed over there, too, so those golden minerals are coming in. 2-2 just seconds away from finishing. Same for the vehicle level, but that's not going to be done in time before the majority of the tanks fall. Okay. Dark pushes it back once more, and this time around, this may actually be a little bit too much here for Kjær. He loses an awful lot of economy, or an awful lot of army, although Dark doesn't really want to commit too much. Seismic Spines, finishing up. 3-3, finishing up here as well for Dark. I think Kjær is slowly fizzling out. He doesn't have enough to really keep this all going. Another Nidus Worm as well on the other side of the map. He's still getting some good mining in, though. The economy here for Kjær is not that garbage. Now the upgrades are much better. Dark just trying to fight this straight up with the units that he's got right now, realizing that Terran is going to have a hard time. GG gets cold. And it is indeed our Zerg player with a Swarm Host army against Terran, who obtains the victory in game number 1. You know what? For a moment there, I did have a little bit of StarCraft 2 deja vu. Because I've been digging for Zerg versus Terran replays. And I almost thought that I had already cast that game before. That looked near identical to the game that Dark recently played against Clem as well on that same map. He also went Swarm Host against Bio Terran, and it did not work whatsoever. Apparently, though, Dark managed to pull it off this time around. So now we find ourselves on Abyssal Reef. Honestly, I think out of all of the times I've seen Zerg players try to play Swarm Host against Terran Bio, so Terran Infantry, I think that was the very first time that I've seen it work. Yeah, very strange. Where are we going, Dark? Oh, we're just scouting for proxies? Wow, so he once more wants to go very quick gasless triple hedge, but he is scouting his side of the map to see whether or not there's, well, proxies in the most obvious locations. So this drone is just set up, not for scouting on the other side of the map, but just to make sure that he can likely get away with it. This Overlord is scouting the other likely locations. The first one already checked the high ground over here. Okay. Yeah, you know what? I guess that's one of the reasonably safe ways to get away with a gasless start. So is he going to be playing Swarm Host again then? This may honestly just be Dark's new standard in this matchup. Again, in that series that I cast between Dark and Clem, it did not work out at all. Like, Clem just looked at it once and he just immediately... Yeah, he just immediately destroyed it. If you can get the upgrades, though, maybe that's the real trigger. If you can, like, find where the upgrades of the Terran are, and you shut down the 2-2 research like that, maybe even kill the armory, because Terran's 9 times out of 10, maybe more than that, maybe 98 out of 100 games, they will build the engineering base and the armory all together. I mean, the counter for Terran would be to split up those structures so you don't lose them all in one go. Or maybe just move them into the main base instead. Yeah, maybe just move them somewhere where they, you know, aren't so out in the open. That's a way easier solution. Anyway, Dark gets the job done. And now we find ourselves on the Abyssal Reef. Honestly, I don't want to be too critical, because Dark obviously didn't play the cleanest game of my, all my casting here either, but Kjær did play reasonably sloppy. We caught him lose a bunch of units for pretty much no reason. We've seen him, like, forget to siege up tanks. That was by no means the best game that Kjær has ever played in his life. So I'm hoping he can do a bit of a better job in this match here too, because those mistakes are extremely costly. Dark Dome, Osseo's droning. He's got 4 slow Zerglings. No Roach Warren, no Gas Geyser, no nothing. There's 2 gases now coming up. 3.5-ish minutes into the game is apparently when he takes it. Still no additional Zerglings. Dude, this is such a greedy build. It's actually ridiculously greedy. Dark hasn't seen the 3rd command center, so he doesn't even really know what Terran's doing, although he can kind of figure it out by the timing here. He's still droning. Like, he's got 4 Zerglings. For every minute in the game, he's made 1 Zergling. Yeah, he's just... Okay, we finally see a few more. Double Evo Chamber on top of the high ground as well? Huh. So why did we make 4 additional Zerglings? What are those supposed to do? Did he feel just, like... I don't see what 8 slowlings can achieve that 4 can't. Alright, well, Lair coming up now. Oh, we do have an attempted Evo Chamber block, but Cure is going to be able to run a couple of those units through the mineral line. Awkward, man. My favorite part is when you look at the production tab at that stage in the game, and it's literally just more drones. So Dark's solution to losing drones is making more drones. When you think about it, maybe that's the way to do it, you know? Like over drone, so when you lose a bunch of them, you're actually where you're supposed to be. So this is 7 drones for 6 Hellions. Actually a cost-efficient trade for Zerg. 4th hatchery now coming up. Yeah, so this is 8 slow Zerglings. And 4 hatcheries. A lair. Double upgrades. We're just droning, man. And again, he doesn't really know what Terran's up to. But Terrans are playing pretty predictable StarCraft these days. I mean, this is basically the same build that we see time and time again. So, yeah. Additional barracks now finishing up. That's barracks 4, 5, and... Or 3, 4, and 5, rather. He's got the 3rd command center now landed. We'll probably see a 4th CC, maybe a 2nd factory here in just a moment. One thing I would like to see is how well like a straight 1-1-1 deals with this. So the gold standard for Terran is to go barracks, factory, 3rd command center, starport. Back in the day though, for many, many years, Terran players used to play barracks, factory, starport, 3rd command center. So those 2 at the end are flipped. Terrans are very greedy these days with the timing of the 3rd CC. And I wonder if this is Dark basically saying, yo, if you're gonna be greedy, I am gonna be even greedier. He's now going for a 5th hatchery. He's got no units. 8 Zerglings. He's got 8 Zerglings and 5 hatcheries. Double upgrades. He's going infestation pit. He's building everything off of 8 slow Zerglings. You'd imagine you shouldn't be able to get away with this. But so far, it seems to be okay. And obviously, Cure is also playing a greedy game, right? Like, that's the big thing. Cure is also playing a very greedy match. And economically, he's fine. So there is indeed a 2nd factory coming. We've got ourselves a 4th command center starting up soon, I'm sure. Armory is already done. Yep. All of this is very conventional. And you know what? Supply-wise, he's actually ahead. So despite this extreme greed and even a Roach Ravager-based army, this is actually not even that bad for Terran. I kind of figured this would be worse for him, but he's actually totally fine. Huh. Okay. Roach Ravager Ling Bane. That is also a unit composition and a half right here from Dark. Hey, what's up, Shark Bro? How are you doing, buddy? Alright, good to see you. Roach Ravager Ling Bane used to be a popular unit composition against Protoss before they nerfed Banelings a few years ago. It used to not be uncommon against Terran, but it's a little weird to be playing in 2025. So look, we have Baneling speed before Zergling speed. Apparently Dark is feeling the need, though, to cut this many corners just to be even with Terran, right? Like, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting. Bunch of Banshees go down unnecessarily. I don't love it. I don't really like the whole situation here. I think it's fine for Dark in this game, but he's being so incredibly greedy. Yeah, I know, buddy. I know. Why do you have little circles on your face? Like, what is going on here? Why do you have little... Has Sharkbro always had circles? It's only his face. Are you drunk, Sharkbro? I guess those are supposed to be bubbles from him breathing or something? Where is he? He's gone! Whoa! Yo, somebody get a missing poster. Hey, there he is. Oh, you moved. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be him breathing. Okay. It's an Ultra Cavern Rush. Ultimately, what this comes down to is the greediest Ultra Cavern Rush that I've seen in my life. And he's not even in that good of a position here. Okay, well, this is also not a great position, though, for Cure, who, again, is finding himself with multiple siege tanks unsieged. Cure, we gotta work on that, man. Like, why are we Like, we gotta go back to Terran School 101 here. Because that is really not the way you do it. Enough Banelings, though, I think now. Coming up on the Beckett is to shove this Terran player off the creep for now. Yeah, and all of those Terran units are just going to get cleaned up here. Overextension from Cure. Although it's not bad. It's just that he's doing it right before his own 2-2 finishes up. So, like, look, we have a timing attack right before your own upgrades kick in. Then why even bother? Chitinous Plating, though, coming up for Ultras. And Ultralisks are going to be hitting the battlefield here very, very soon. So we have a, like, 5, maybe even 6 hatchery build off of, like, 8 slow Zerglings. And then we're rushing up to Ultralisk in the end? Like, that's what we're doing? Barra Bombs now coming up as well. Obviously, there's a lot more caveats and little asterisks, or asterisks right next to everything, but it does seem a little bit funky to me. Nidus Worm on the production tab now too, so Dark is ready to start flooding the map. Ghost Academy in the far bottom right corner. 3-3 starts up here with quite a long delay actually for Cure. He had the money for it. Finished 2-2 a while ago. Not quite making the transition as smoothly there as I would like to see. I'm hoping Dark is going to be more on point with the upgrades, because +3 Carapace, super useful for Ultras. Either way, he may just be thinking about mostly going all in here. This is an Ultralisk in the Nidus rush. I mean, it takes 11 minutes. Okay. There we go. We have a couple Ultras now popping out. In the meantime, there is a Zerg counterattack as well. Bunch of burrowed lings over there. Ultra, at the very least, is opening up the door for a second Nidus Worm to become available. Now the rest of the Terran army, though, has been sent into the main base. Look how little damage, though, these Terran units are dealing to upgraded Ultras at this phase in StarCraft. That's exactly why Ghosts and Liberators are so important. Zerglings have once more unburrowed. Fight at the front, now that the rocks are down. Also, much better for Zerg than previously, because there was a large Terran army sitting behind the rocks that was sent into the main base. 7 Dropper Lords on the back of this too. We have a Nidus Worm unloading units for them to then ferry themselves into a Dropper Lord. This is like taking the train to the airport here, man. What's... Except it's a very short flight. Like, maybe you should have just sat in the train, you know? Like, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. You gotta arrive at the airport a couple hours early, gotta account for security and all that. We have Ultralisk drops. It's kind of bad, isn't it? I don't think it's very good. Cure trying to wiggle his way out of this very strange situation. He does now have ghosts, so that'll be important. He needs a bunch of them too inside of the main base soon, because even though the Nidus Worms have been dealt with, now we're gonna see Ultralisk raining from the skies. They do also provide new vision up on that high ground for another Nidus network to be planted down over there. There's a lot of Zerg army in the meantime still sitting at home too. Would not be surprised if they're gonna head on over in that direction. The 4th base of the Terran is once more remade. Zerglings get dropped in a natural expansion. Ultras slip away, mostly through the network. Only a single one has died so far. Chaos all over the map as Cure is desperately trying to put out a lot of fires. Here's the rest of that Terran army that did now just fell as well, as Dark is trying to see if he can deny that 4th base again. This time around, though, no planetary fortress set up yet, so Terran could just lift off. He decides to get out. +3 Carapace did, by the way, begin. It's just about to finish. And we do get some nice snipies here in the end. Okay. Ultras on the low ground. Ay. This is a dark game and a half. A difficult matchup to currently play. But Dark has found a very, very greedy solution to the problem that he's been facing. He's basically using the Terran's greed against him now. Terran's just getting a little bit too comfortable, sitting back and playing macro. Dark trying to abuse it. Well, this is not over yet, though. This Terran army is still massive. As a matter of fact, at this point, it's much bigger than that of the Zerg. About 140-ish supply versus 103. Blinding Clouds, though, super good. And keep in mind that this Terran army has been stimped to death. There's only, well, 4 medevacs here. No, there's more, actually. Right over here, too. They're all without energy, though. Yeah, he's making new ones here, but these bio units need to be extremely cautious. Infestors also coming up on the back of this. Zerglings now unburrowed in the natural expansion because there was no detection here whatsoever. And this is now an opportunity that Dark is going to try and capitalize on by pushing in through the front as well, while the Terran player is distracted. He has a lot of fungal growths available, but he doesn't even need them. GG gets called, and Dark obtains the victory, 2-0 over Cure, in some very interesting games. I feel like these... I really feel like these are Zerg strategies that quote-unquote aren't supposed to work. I mean, I've been saying that for many years about a lot of the Dark builds, but this one is just on another level. Extremely greedy. He can die to about 17 different attacks from the Terran, but if the Terran plays exactly the way that Cure did, and most of the time they do play exactly the way that Cure did, he apparently has a hard counter in the works. GG.